the mission that wasn't supposed to succeed. From the beginning, this mission carried doubt, quiet doubt, the kind that never reaches headlines, but lives inside briefings and whispered conversations. On paper, everything worked. Timelines aligned. Systems passed inspection. Yet behind closed doors, many believed this mission would fail long before it reached its objective. To understand why this story still matters today, we need to understand how success in space is often defined before a rocket ever launches. Space exploration depends on confidence, but it also depends on risk tolerance. And sometimes, the line between the two becomes dangerously thin. This mission was approved under pressure. Schedules were tight, resources limited, expectations lowered. It was framed as secondary, experimental, not essential. A mission designed to try, not necessarily to win. The crew knew this before launch. They understood the unspoken reality. If everything worked, it would be impressive. If it failed, it would be quietly accepted. That knowledge changes how a mission feels. Training continued as usual. Procedures memorized. Simulations repeated. But beneath the routine, tension lingered. This was not a mission built on certainty. It was built on hope and calculation. Once in orbit, the early signs were mixed. Some systems performed flawlessly. Others required constant adjustment. Minor anomalies appeared, then stabilized. Nothing catastrophic, nothing reassuring. The crew adapted quickly. Improvisation became routine. Decisions were made in real time, often without the luxury of extended consultation. Ground control monitored closely, but flexibility replaced rigid planning. Each small success felt earned. Each stable orbit felt temporary. The mission existed in a narrow window between progress and collapse. And as the spacecraft continued forward, one truth became increasingly clear. This mission would not be remembered for its design. It would be remembered for how close it came to never working at all. Because sometimes, the missions that matter most are the ones no one expects to survive. As the mission progressed, uncertainty became a constant companion. Every system update was met with cautious optimism. Every successful maneuver carried the quiet question of what might fail next. The spacecraft demanded attention. Small adjustments became frequent. Parameters drifted, then returned. Readings hovered near acceptable limits. Nothing crossed the threshold of emergency, but nothing inspired full confidence either. The crew developed an unspoken rhythm. Extra checks, redundant confirmations. Decisions double-checked, not because protocol demanded it, but because instinct did. Trust was placed not in the plan, but in each other. Ground control watched closely. Conversations became more deliberate, less scripted. Engineers weighed options in real time, balancing mission goals against growing risk. The original objectives began to feel ambitious, almost optimistic. Then came the moment when the mission's vulnerability became impossible to ignore. A critical system showed irregular behavior. Not failure, but instability. The kind that suggests deeper problems beneath the surface. Data trended unpredictably. Models failed to agree. Options narrowed quickly. Continue as planned and risk escalation, or adjust the mission profile and accept reduced outcomes. Either choice carried consequences. The crew discussed the situation calmly, but the weight was undeniable. This was the decision point, the moment where success could still be claimed or quietly abandoned. Choosing to proceed meant trusting systems that had already shown signs of strain. Choosing to pull back meant admitting the mission had been overestimated from the start. The decision was made to continue cautiously, increment by increment. Each step evaluated before the next was taken. This was no longer a mission driven by ambition. It was driven by resolve. And as the spacecraft pressed forward, the margin between success and failure narrowed further. One unexpected variable could still unravel everything. The mission was still alive. But now, it was walking a line that could not afford even a single misstep. The tension reached its peak as the mission entered its most critical phase. Every earlier compromise now converged into a single window where performance mattered more than planning. Systems that had limped along were pushed closer to their limits. Readings fluctuated. Warnings appeared, then cleared. The spacecraft responded, but not always predictably. Each response demanded interpretation, not assumption. Inside the cabin, focus sharpened. Conversation became minimal. Every crew member understood that this phase would define the mission's legacy. Success or failure would be decided here, not by intention, but by execution under pressure. Ground control monitored silently at times, allowing the crew space to act. Too many voices could slow reaction. Trust had shifted. Authority was now shared across distance, anchored in training and judgment. Then came the cascade moment, a sequence where timing mattered more than correction. One action triggering the next. Too early and alignment would be lost. Too late and recovery would be impossible. The crew committed. Seconds stretched. Data streamed in fragments. Systems responded unevenly, but within tolerance. The spacecraft held its trajectory, barely. Every indicator became a focal point. Every fluctuation felt amplified. This was not the clean execution envisioned during planning. It was rough, imperfect, strained, but it was working. The realization settled slowly. Against expectation, against probability, the mission was holding together. The crew maintained discipline. No celebration, no relief, only continued attention. Because in space, success is not confirmed until stability is proven. As the critical window closed, the spacecraft emerged intact. Systems stabilized. Parameters returned to safer ranges. The danger did not vanish, but it receded. For the first time since launch, the mission had breathing room. What had been expected to fail had endured its most severe test. And in that moment, the story of the mission began to change. Stability did not arrive with celebration. It arrived quietly, through steady numbers and the absence of new warnings. The spacecraft was still imperfect, still strained, but it was alive. As the mission continued, its success reframed everything that came before it. What had once been labeled risky now looked resilient. What had been dismissed as secondary now carried unexpected weight. The crew reflected on how close the mission had come to being written off. Not because it lacked purpose, but because it lacked confidence from those who designed it. And yet confidence had been built not before launch, but through endurance. This mission didn't succeed because every system worked perfectly. It succeeded because people adapted when systems didn't. Because decisions were made with humility. Because the line between caution and courage was navigated carefully, not ignored. For space agencies, the lesson was clear. Some missions cannot be judged solely by probability. Innovation often lives where margins are thin and outcomes uncertain. Writing off risk too early can mean missing breakthroughs that only appear under pressure. For the crew, the experience reshaped how they viewed failure. Failure was no longer the presence of problems. It was the absence of response, the refusal to adapt. Today, as humanity plans more ambitious missions into deeper space, this story matters. The future will not be built on perfect conditions. It will be built on resilience, judgment, and the willingness to continue when success is not guaranteed. The mission that wasn't supposed to succeed proved something enduring. Sometimes survival, not perfection, is the greatest achievement. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The mission